Hello everyone, and you're all very warm welcome to this next video in my tutorial series about the PMDG Boeing 737 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a member of the PMDG tech team as well as a real-life Boeing 737 pilot, and today I'm going to show you how to program the FMC in the Boeing 737 Next Generation series. We're picking this video up where we left last time. We've just loaded our airplane, and now we are going to start programming the FMC for our flight from Stansted to Dublin. So on the item page we check that we're in the right model. It's a 737-700. The IRAC is valid from the 24th March to the 21st of April. I'm recording this on the 23rd April, so this is actually out of date. This is something that we would have to correct in real life now, and the airplane is also alerting us to it. Enough data out of date. However, for the purpose of this simulated flight, we will ignore this message and we will update the IRAC when the airplane is actually released so that there is new data available. When it is going to release, it is going to be supplied with an IRAC that's current at the time of the release of the airplane, as far as I'm aware. So we're going on to the position init page. We're standing in London Stansted, so we're putting this into the reference airport page here. Then we click on next page, pick up the GPS position. Have a rough look at the GPS position. It's about the same as the last position noted by the system when the airplane arrived, as well as the GPS position of the airport. You would be able to notice some gross errors in here, especially with the GPS position, in case it would not be correct. We can see over here it's roughly similar to what we have above, so we're going to enter this in here. Next we go up to the route. There are several ways to load your route in this airplane. You can either request it, or you can enter a company route. If you're using SimBrief to do those, then the route would be called Echo Golf Sierra Sierra Echo India Delta Whiskey, that you could put in here. However, for the sake of this tutorial, we are going to program it manually. So we came from London Stansted. You can see that in the operational flight plan up here, Echo Golf Sierra Sierra, we're going to Echo India Delta Whiskey, that you can see up here. That is Dublin Airport. Our flight number today is going to be Ryanair 7 Echo Golf. You can find this over here in the flight plan. Now we're going to add our routing. We'll select the departure arrival page, select departure, scroll down over here, there you have the routing, and we are planned for runway 22 with the Utava 1 Romeo departure. The runway 22, next page, Utava 1 Romeo. Next we click on route. Next page, here we can enter our airways now, so we're going from Utava via Quebec 75. Put that on the left side here under via, and then we're going to Buzzard. And we put that on the right side in the to prompt. Next we're flying via Tango 420. And we're following this airway to the Trent VOR, Tango November Tango. And the next is going to be Upper Lima 28. Now there is a feature in the 737 where you can just type Upper Lima 28 now, put that in the next airway, and then it's automatically going to select the waypoint where the two airways intersect. If you are using this method of inputting data, be careful though, because there are several airways in the world which intersect multiple times. So it might be that the FMC is choosing a different intersection than what you have planned. In that case, simply type the waypoint, put it in here, and then you can continue with the setup. So from Upper Lima 28 we're proceeding to Leldo, then Mike 145. Again, we check that Leldo is shown over here, and we fly that all the way until Baxo, which is where our airways end and where we're going to pick up the arrival into Dublin. Now departures arrival page, arrival. Next page, we plan for the ILS runway 28 left in here with Baxo to Lima arrival, as you can see in the flight plan over here. Go to route, activate it, but do not execute it yet. We will execute the route at a later point when we are doing the departure briefing. Now, for flight simulation purposes, if you intend to skip the departure briefing, then you could execute the route as it is now. Now the airplane knows where we are going. Now it needs to know how we're going there, as in, what's our performance going to look like. Go to the performance init page. Again, we find most of this information on the sec page in the flight plan. The flight plan itself here is generated using SimBrief, and I've chosen the Ryanair layout since we're doing a Ryanair flight. So the cost index in Ryanair is going to be 6 on pretty much all flights. The reserves, we take them over here from the FMC info section. That's 1,900 kilograms rounded up. You will always round the reserves up, never round it down. So even if it's set, for example, 1,901, then you will put 2.0 in the reserves over here. Zero fuel weight expected is up here, 51.5 tons. For the cruise level, the airplane suggests us automatically that flight level 401 would be the optimum altitude. However, this is based on just about a minute in cruise, which is not a lot, and you can actually save a little bit of fuel if you're going lower. Therefore, SimBrief planned us here at flight level 340, that's going to give us the best fuel economy. Therefore, we are going to use 340 in here. Cruise wind is the average wind you find in here. That's 93 degrees at 35 knots. So enter 93/35. Then we can also correct the outside air temperature at the top of climb. That's going to improve our performance predictions. So the flight plan says us we have a top of climb standard atmosphere deviation of -7 degrees. So this is based on the standard atmosphere in the FMC, minus 52 degrees. It's 7 degrees colder, that makes it minus 59 degrees. And if you're wondering, hold on a moment, 52 minus 7, that should be 45. Then yes, you're right. But keep in mind this is negative already, so you're at minus 52 degrees, and you're going 7 degrees colder, making it minus 59 degrees in here. Transition altitude. The default value can be set by the painter of the livery in the aircraft options. This one is set by 18,000 at the moment. So we're going to have a look into the chart here. Again, I'm using SimToolkit Pro to access my Navigraph charts. Those are Jefferson charts provided to the flight sim community by Navigraph, and I can really recommend you to check those out. It says transition altitude 6,000 up here. Now there's a little thingy about the 737 FMC. I always add 1 feet to the transition altitude, so make it 6,001. Because otherwise, if you are using VNAV to level off at an altitude restriction of 6,000 feet, was just trying to search here if we have any on this departure. However, here it's 4,000 feet only. But if you had an altitude restriction at 6,000 feet, and the transition altitude in the FMC would be 6,000, then the airplane would aim to level off at flight level 60. Now, if you imagine you have a QNH that is, for example, 20 hectopascals higher than the usual, so let's say we have a QNH of 1033 instead of the standard 1013. 1 hectopascal equals about 30 feet, so that would be a 600 feet difference that your altimeter is going to go down when you're resetting it from from local to standard. So if the airplane would now want to level off at flight level 60, it would mean that it would actually climb to an altitude of about 6,600 feet, and therefore overshoot the altitude by 600 feet due to the difference in the altimeter. Therefore, if you add a single feet over here, the airplane is going to level off at an altitude of 6,000 versus a flight level of 60. That's one of the small tricks you have to have in mind for the Boeing 737 flight management computer if you are using VNAV mode. Right, then we go on to the fix page. Here we're going to enter our engine out SID, and for that I have a link set up in my SimToolkit Pro, which is leading us to the website of the YouTuber and streamer Blackbox711. He made some very nice airfield briefings here that we're going to search for. You find that under airport information on his website. We are at London Stansted here, Echo Golf Sierra Sierra. And in here you can see your engine out standard instrument departures that he's providing to you. So over here we're going straight ahead to 20 miles from the airport, and then we'll enter a hold over there. So what we're going to do, we'll enter Echo Golf Sierra Sierra on the fix page, and then we'll put a 20-mile ring in here. And this is basically going to provide us the distance at which we are going to pick up the hold in case we do have an engine failure. Now moving on, I'm always preparing the descent page as well already. That simply reduces my workload in the flight. So we're going to insert a speed limit of 250 knots below 10,000 feet. Why do we do that? Because in the United States, where the Boeing's manufactured, you mostly have a limit of 240 knots. That's why Boeing's putting this in. However, VNAV is doing a very good job at maintaining speed, so we are changing this to 250 knots, because that is what you're allowed to fly. The slower you go, the more fuel you're using. Therefore, we changed this to 250 knots, below 10,000 feet. Then we enter the forecast page, transition level at Dublin. Again, we can have a look into the charts here. Looking at Echo India Delta Whiskey. And the charts for that, approach chart for runway 28 left. So you have a transition altitude of 5,000 feet. The Dublin Altimeter, let's have a quick look at that. 1010. So you do want to have at least 1,000 feet between the transition altitude and the first available transition level. That means if the altimeter is below standard, then you will usually add 2,000 feet to the transition altitude to get the transition level. So over here we have a transition level of 70. Going to enter the altimeter setting as well, 1004. And then we can already insert our descent winds. Again, we are taking those from the flight plan over here. Here we are, descent winds. We'll use flight level 310, flight level 200, and flight level 100, so that the airplane got a wide range of winds available for the best VNAV predictions. Flight level 310, the wind is from 88 degrees, 29 knots. That's in. Then flight level 295 degrees, 35 knots. And a flight level 100, it's from 86 degrees at 31 knots. And this is pretty much all you have to do to feed your flight management computer for the flight. Be aware, all you need to do now is to execute this, and then the FMC is ready to go. However, in this video I'm not going to press execute just yet, because we will be doing a departure briefing later on, and it is best practice not to execute the FMC unless the data is verified. So before we have verified it in the departure briefing, we're not going to press execute just yet. One last thing we can do here on the Lex page is to insert a speed restriction for the first turn, even if there is none published. But you can see here on the plan mode of the navigation display how this is overshooting the turn a little bit. And that's because the FMC expects to accelerate, and at the speed we are planned to have here, we are going to overshoot. So what you can do, take a 220 knot restriction and put that in for the first turn. So the first turn begins at the Charlie point, ends at the hotel point. So at the hotel point over here, we'll put 220 knots or less into the FMC. And once the routing is executed, this is going to recompute the route. So now it will most likely match up without any overshoots. We can also step through the plan here, just to check if there are any further overshoots that you might want to clear by inserting a speed restriction before actually flying the departure to ensure track keeping accuracy. So this is it for the FMC setup. I would like to thank you very much and see you on the next video.